الحمد لله رب العالمين، الحمد لله الكريم، الحمد لله الحليم، الرب العظيم، الرب الرحيم، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. I hereby testify that there is no deity worthy of worship except the Almighty One, Creator of us all. And I hereby testify that Muhammad is Allah's messenger who was sent to bring about mercy and compassion unto the world. My sisters and my brothers, today I will discuss with you the challenge of our time, the challenge actually of all times, the challenge of history or histories, the challenge of all nations and communities, the challenge that God challenges us with, the challenge of justice or lack of justice, the challenge of diversity and lack of diversity, the challenge of pluralism or lack of respectful pluralism. Let us dive into the story of Madian and the prophet Shu'aib in Surah Hud and in Surah Al-A'raf that discusses this dialogue that happens between the prophet Shu'aib and his people on this important charge or challenge of justice. وَإِلَى مَدْيَنَ أَخَاهُمْ شُعَيْبًا. And to the people of Madian, God sent their brother Shu'aib as their prophet. Madian on the shore of the Red Sea, not far from the city of Aqaba in Jordan today. What did Shu'aib tell his people? Number one, اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره. Worship your Lord. You have no God but Him. He's telling his people to take God seriously, to take God's commands seriously, to devote themselves to the only one lawmaker we know, and that is God, because we are accountable to no one like we are accountable to God in this life and in the life to come. He's asking them to devote themselves to the commands of Allah and take those commands seriously. Great. قَدْ جَاءَتْكُمْ بَيِّنَةٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. This is number two, that there has come to you a clear proclamation from your Lord. So he's about to tell them something that is rather serious and that's rather important that they have to take seriously. So number one, that they have to hold themselves accountable to divine regulations and teachings. At the end of the day, only God tells us what to do or what not to do. Only for the benefit of us human beings. And number two, he's telling them, I'm about to give you the charge of your time. The charge that was of benefit to the people of Madian thousands of years ago and will always be important in the human family thousands of years to come. What is that? The proclamation. فَأَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ وَالْمِيزَانِ. Immediately give full measure and a just weight. He's asking them to immediately take charge of justice, to hold themselves to high principle of equity, of equality, and of justice. When they weigh things justly. When they buy and when they sell, they do it with full justice. The people of Madian did not honor the teachings of justice that God revealed. They deprived their people of their rightful dues. They deceived people. They did not sell and buy with full equity and justice. They did not employ people with full equity and justice. They did not honor the role of justice. They did not realize that the lack of justice leads to mistrust and failures of societies. That is what Shu'aib was trying to tell his people. And he proceeded by saying, وَلَا تَبْخَسُ النَّاسَ أَشْيَاءَهُمْ وَلَا تَبْخَسُ النَّاسَ أَشْيَاءَهُمْ. Do not withhold from the people the things that are due to them. Do not withhold from the people the things that are theirs. My honor is mine, that has to be respected. My dignity, my life, my freedom, the need to feel respected and honored and dignified are all my rights as a human being. So here Shu'aib is telling his people, especially the elite and the privileged, to be honest, to be truthful, to be equitable, to be equal, to give people their full rights. He's telling them that we should not belittle people or look down upon people because they are the poor, they are the underprivileged. He's telling the privileged and the ruling class that you have no right to deprive people of their rights that God gave them. We are born with the right to be free. We are born with the right to study. We are born with the right to be honored and dignified. We are born with the right to have life and the pursuit of happiness. And no one has the right to deprive us as individuals because of the color of our skin or our ethnicity. No one has the right, especially the elite and the privileged, using their status to deprive us from our rights. When people feel that they are treated unjustly or not getting what is theirs and what they deserve, their reaction will be of frustration and one of pain due to the injustice carried out and the hatred and oppression and occupation on them. If justice is not served, the situation will only worsen with time. You know, a successful society is a society that is run not by the desires of the elite, the interests of the privileged, but rather by the scale of mizan, the scale of adl, the scale of mikyal, the scale of justice. A society that fails to honor that scale of justice, that mizan, that adl, is a society that will have to come to an end, that will have to come to its knees at one point. And we have looked at history and what happened with nations for thousands of years that failed to honor justice and what happened to them. You know, at the end of the day, those privileged, those ruling class must realize that they cannot enforce injustice and be safe in their homes and in their businesses. And it is the designing of their own hands that led to their own destruction when they failed to give people what is due to people. وَلَا تَبْخَسُ النَّاسَ أَشْيَاءَهُم. The clear message of Shu'aib alayhi salam in Surah Hud, وَلَا تَنْقُصُ الْمِكْيَالَ وَالْمِيزَانَ إِنِّي أَرَاكُمْ بِخَيْرٍ وَإِنِّي أَخَافُ عَلَيْكُمْ عَذَابَ يَوْمٍ مُحِيطٍ وَيَا قَوْمِ أَوْفُوا الْمِكْيَالَ وَالْمِيزَانَ بِالْقِسْطِ وَلَا تَبْخَسُوا النَّاسَ أَشْيَاءَهُم وَلَا تَعْثَوْا فِي الْأَرْضِ مُفْسِدِينَ. He's telling them, do not undermine the scale of justice for all people. Be truthful to it. You are much better being the champions of justice. إِنِّي أَرَاكُمْ بِخَيْرٍ. You are much better off being the champions of justice, not the champions of injustice. وَإِنِّي أَخَافُ عَلَيْكُمْ عَذَابَ يَوْمٍ مُحِيطٍ. I only worry that you will be destroyed by your own hands if you fail to do justice. That you are better off championing for truth and for justice and for equality and equity. And if you fail to do that, إِنِّي أَخَافُ عَلَيْكُمْ عَذَابَ يَوْمٍ مُحِيطٍ. I worry that the day will come and you will come to your knees, that you will fail, that you will be taken away, that you will be wiped out as a nation by yourselves, by your own hands. وَلَا تَبْخَسُوا النَّاسَ أَشْيَاءَهُم. Do not defraud of their things, of people's things. Stand up for what is right. Do what is just. وَلَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ بَعْدَ إِصْلَاحِهَا. And do no mischief in the land. And work no corruption on earth after it has been set in order by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah created this universe, Allah created it with the principles and the order of peace and justice and diversity and pluralism and equality, brotherhood and sisterhood. Do not undermine that system and that order that God inserted in God's earth. ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. If you were true believers in God, you have to realize that the best action for you is to honor the rule of justice, the rule of judging things well, give things their due measure, not undermining justice. The clear message here is that
Shu'aib to his people that it's much better for you. It's much better for your human potential when you stand up for justice. It's much better for your dunya, for the world, and for the life to come. It's much more profitable for you financially and economically and morally and spiritually and mentally and emotionally and religiously and socially that you stand up for justice. ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. The best action societies can take, the privileged can take, the poor can take, is to rule with justice and equality for all. No one, therefore, should be deprived of their rights on the basis of the color of their skin or the language they speak or the ethnicity they belong to or the nationality they belong to or how poor or how rich. My sisters and my brothers, وَلَا تَقْعُدُوا بِكُلِّ صِرَاطٍ تُوعِدُونَ وَتَصُدُّونَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ مَنْ آمَنَ بِهِ. Shu'aib is telling his people, do not sit on every path, threatening and averting people from the way of Allah, those who have believed in Allah. He's threatening the elite. He's threatening the privileged who have designed the system, who have designed their own political machine, their own financial, economic machine to enslave people, to use people, to deprive people of their rights to be free, from the rights to be equal, from the rights to have full access to everything others have access to. So God is telling us through Shu'aib alayhi salam to tell the privileged, to tell the rich and the ruling class and the elite, do not create your own system, a system that threatens people in every way, بِكُلِّ صِرَاط, in every path. That's what so many countries have done. That's what so many political countries have done. That is what so many ruling classes have done in so many societies. They threaten people. They terrorize people when they demand of their rights. They don't want people to protest the agony. They don't want people to protest the tyranny. They don't want people to speak up the truth to power. They don't want people to protest demanding their rights. At the end of the day, if I don't demand my rights, who will? And if I don't speak up the truth to power, who will? The charge of Shu'aib alayhi salam to his people, in this case to the elite, to give up on their well-institutionalized machine of racism, of discrimination, of inequality, of injustice and oppression, depriving people from the right to believe as they wish, from the right to be free, from the right to think on their own, for their own, and the right to be employed like everyone else and be paid like everyone else is paid. تتوعدون الناس بالقتل والإيذاء إن لم يعطوكم أموالهم تهددون الناس إن خالفوكم وطالبوا بحقوقهم تستعبدونهم تكرهونهم. You enslave people, you terrorize people, you force them, you force the poor to surrender to your enslavement machinery that is only designed for the service of the privileged and the rich and the ruling class. تبغونها عوجا. You want the society to be crooked, living by your crooked machine that has no morality and no ethics and no equity and no justice in it. That is what Shu'aib came to fight. The people of Madian gave short measure or weight. They governed with fraud, depriving people of their rights, producing mischief and disorder, whereas peace and order had been established by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What they did is they took it from people every right to be free. They cut off people from access to worship even. They abused religion for their crooked purposes. That's the acts of the elite, my sisters and my brothers, of the privileged who use religion sometimes for their own advantages, who use the political resources available to them for their advantages. Shu'aib alayhi salam at the end tells his people, وَاذْكُرُوا إِذْ كُنْتُمْ قَلِيلًا فَكَثَّرَكُمْ. And remember when you were but little and few, and God, multiplied you. I remind America, I remind every nation in the world, I remind every community and every country and every ruling class in the world. Remember that one day you were poor, one day you were little, one day you were disunited. And God gave you so much power. God gave you so much money, so much access to so many resources. Be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Show some humility. So I call upon America from this podium to show some humility. I call upon every ruling class, everywhere. I call upon the elite that think that they can deprive people of their rights. Be grateful for what you have. It is God's gift to you. You were so little, so few, and God gave you so much. Show humility in the presence of the poor. Give up on your injustice and oppression that you exercise against others. كنتم فقراء فبشركم الله ويسر عليكم. You were so poor, and it's God who gave you. واذكروا كيف كان عاقبة المفسدين. Shu'aib is reminding his people, and be mindful of the end result of those who were corrupt. Give me an empire that existed forever when it ruled with injustice. Give me a community, give me a country, give me a nation, give me an institution that lived forever, my sisters and my brothers. Most nations came to their knees and disappeared and were wiped out by their own designers when they failed to do justice. Shu'aib alayhi salam is asking the elite and the ruling class to exercise and execute a new plan of change, moral change, spiritual change, internal change, institutional change, external change, social change, economic change, policy change. He wants them to remember that they will come to their knees if they fail to act upon change immediately and right away. You began as an insignificant tribe, he reminded his people. And by Allah's favor, you increased in numbers and in resources. Do you not then owe a duty to Allah to fulfill His teachings of justice? Otherwise, learn from the example of those nations that have come before you that have failed to exist because they failed to do justice. He continued the message. وَإِنْ كَانَ طَائِفَةٌ مِّنْكُمْ آمَنُوا بِالَّذِي أُرْسِلْتُ بِهِ وَطَائِفَةٌ لَمْ يُؤْمِنُوا فَاصْبِرُوا حَتَّى يَحْكُمَ اللَّهُ بَيْنَنَا وَهُوَ خَيْرُ الْحَاكِمِينَ. The message and the challenge of Shu'aib to his people was very obvious. No wavering, no change in it. We need change, and right now we will protest for change. We need moral change. We need moral imagination to change. We need institutional change. We need policy changes. The elite must give up on their elitism. They have to be humble, and justice and mizan has to be served. And at the end of the day, and if there is a group of you which believed in Allah and a group did not believe in Allah, a group that wanted to enforce justice and a group that does not care about justice, what is Shu'aib saying? فَاصْبِرُوا حَتَّى يَحْكُمَ اللَّهُ بَيْنَنَا وَهُوَ خَيْرُ الْحَاكِمِينَ. Be patient, or those who call for justice, or those who protest for justice. Be patient, persevere, be consistent, keep protesting, keep speaking justice, keep saying Black Lives Matter, keep saying justice matters, keep demanding police policies change, keep changing, keep asking for change. Do not give up. Fasbiru, keep going. I am not gonna waver.
I'm not going to change my desire to serve justice, my desire to speak against the privileged, because I believe that day has come and those who want justice have to get justice. You know, my sisters and my brothers, at the end of the day, al-aqibatu lil-muttaqin. The end result is success for only those who are righteous. The end result is success for only those who speak for God. A language of justice, a language of compassion, and a language of love. The end result is success and the prosperity for those who withheld, who kept fighting for what they believe in, who kept protesting for what they believe in, so that elitism might come to its knees, so that the ruling class might learn how to be humble, even if they want to hurt us. قال الملأ الذين استكبروا من قومه لنخرجنك يا شعيب والذين آمنوا معك من قريتنا. Well, the leading arrogant elite amongst his people said, "Oh Shu'aib, we shall certainly drive you and those who believed with you out of our town." Well, this is what the elite will always do. This is what the privileged will always do. They do not want to lose their privileges. And therefore they go after those who call for justice. We will kill you, we will imprison you, we will enslave you, we will put you to exile. That's what they are doing to Shu'aib alayhi salam. لَنُخْرِجَنَّكَ يَا شُعَيْبُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَكَ مِنْ قَرْيَتِنَا. We shall certainly drive you and those with you out of our village. Who said that? The leading arrogant elite and the privileged amongst his people. أَوْ لَتَعُودُنَّ فِي مِلَّتِنَا. Unless you come back to what we want. So unless you give up on your call for justice, we will put you to exile. However, Shu'aib was very clear in his message. أَوَلَوْ كُنَّا كَارِهِينَ. Even if we don't want to come back to your way of injustice, even though, my sisters and my brothers, at the end of the day, وَسِعَ رَبُّنَا كُلَّ شَيْءٍ عِلْمًا. God's knowledge comprehends everything, my sisters and my brothers. على الله توكلنا. We rely on no one but on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as we carry the flag of justice. We rely on no one but our Creator as we protest all forms of tyranny, all forms of injustice in America and all the countries of the world. We rely on Allah as we protest on the streets, as we protest on our social media, on our TV, as we protest in the way we raise our kids, or demanding that the day will come when justice is served for everyone. على الله توكلنا. We rely on Allah because we are accountable to no one but to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ربنا افتح بيننا وبين قومنا بالحق وأنت خير الفاتحين. Oh Allah, join us and our people upon the truth, or lay open the truth between us and our people, so the elite might know that we are truthful to nothing but peace and goodness. We hope that God would reform the minds of the elite. We ask that God reform the minds of the elite, the minds of the privileged, so that they may come to realize the sinful reality of their mindset, the sinful reality of their institutions, of their oppression and occupation, of their injustice, of their institutionalized bigotry and racism. We ask God to open their hearts, to reform their hearts. At the end of the day, those who belied Shu'aib are al-khasirin, الذين كذبوا شعيبا كانوا هم الخاسرين. At the end of the day, my sisters and my brothers, those who belie the truth, those who do not want to stand up for justice, will be the ultimate losers in this fight. If not today, tomorrow. And if not tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. My sisters and my brothers, my khutbah comes to you to tell you this was the charge of Allah to Shu'aib and to Madian. And the charge of Allah to all of us, to tell our people to stand up for justice, to keep the fight going, to persist, to persevere, and keep at it, naming it what it is, speaking against it, acting against it, educating people against it. At the end of the day, أبلغكم رسالات ربي ونصحت لكم. This is the message of Allah. This is the advice that I pass on to you. Do justice. Honor all people. Freedom is sacred, and all lives matter, including black lives, my sisters and my brothers. Oh Allah, forgive us our sins. Oh Allah, wipe out for us our shortcomings and mistakes. Oh Allah, purify for us our souls. Oh Allah, make us champions of good, champions of justice, champions of equality and of equity, champions of unity and brotherhood and sisterhood, champions of humility, champions against arrogance and against tyranny. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وارحم ضعفنا وأحسن خلاصنا واجعلنا من أهل الخير وأهل الإيمان وأهل الإحسان وأهل الحب والوئام وأهل السلام في الدنيا وفي الآخرة يا رب العالمين. اللهم آمين. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.